The afternoon sun baked the streets of Ouagadougou, turning the dust into a golden haze. The market was alive, vendors shouting prices, children weaving through the crowd with baskets, drums echoing from a nearby stall. It was the sound of a city that refused to sleep. But in the midst of all this noise, there was silence. At the corner of the street, sitting on a piece of faded cloth, was a woman so frail she seemed part of the dust itself. Her eyes were clouded, blind to the colors of the world. She held out a trembling hand, palm open, waiting for mercy from strangers. Some passed without looking. Some tossed a coin as if tossing away guilt. But no one stopped. Her lips whispered words almost drowned by the marketplace. "Please. I am hungry. I have no one." The blind woman's face told a story of years, lines carved by hardship, lips cracked by thirst, skin thinned by hunger. To many, she was just another beggar in the city. Forgotten. Invisible. But not for long. Because on that very street, a convoy of armored vehicles was about to pass. And inside one of them sat the man who carried the weight of a nation on his shoulders, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. The convoy rolled through the crowded market, engines humming like distant thunder. Soldiers on motorcycles cleared the road ahead, urging vendors to step aside. People waved, some cheering, some simply watching in awe as the young leader of Burkina Faso passed by. Inside the lead vehicle, Ibrahim Traoré sat quietly, his gaze fixed on the streets that had raised him. He often told his men, never look at the city from above. Look at it from the ground, from the dust. That is where the truth lives. And then, he saw her. Through the tinted glass, his eyes caught the frail figure sitting on the ground. The cloth she sat on was torn, the bowl before her nearly empty. Her blind eyes faced the sun, though they could not see it. Something in Ibrahim's chest tightened. A memory flashed, his own mother years ago, sitting under the burning sun, selling roasted groundnuts to feed her children. He remembered the hunger in his stomach, the silence of nights when food was scarce. He remembered what it meant to be invisible. "Stop the car," Ibrahim said. The driver glanced back nervously. "Captain, this is not safe. Too many people, no perimeter." "Stop the car." Ibrahim's tone was calm but firm. The convoy screeched to a halt. Dust rose into the air. Soldiers immediately stepped out, forming a circle of protection, scanning the crowd. Vendors stopped shouting, children froze, and all eyes turned toward the unexpected sight, the president stepping out of his armored vehicle. Ibrahim walked straight toward the old woman. His boots crunched against gravel, but she didn't react. She couldn't see who was coming. "Grandmother," he said softly, his voice carrying both strength and tenderness. The woman flinched, turning her blind eyes toward the sound. Who speaks to me?" "A son of this land," Ibrahim replied, kneeling beside her so their faces were level. "Tell me, mother, why do you sit here alone?" Her lips trembled, as though she had not been asked such a question in years. The blind woman's hands shook as she reached for the voice. Her fingers touched the rough fabric of Ibrahim's sleeve. She clung to it gently, as if afraid it might vanish. "I sit here," she whispered, "because I have nowhere else to go." Her voice was fragile, cracked by years of thirst and silence. She tilted her clouded eyes upward, though she could not see the man kneeling before her. "I once had a home," she continued. "A husband who farmed the land. Children who ran through the fields with laughter. But war came, hunger came, and the land gave us nothing. My husband grew weak and died. My sons went to the city, searching for work. None of them returned." Her chest rose and fell heavily. "I do not know if they are dead or alive. All I know is the silence." A hush spread through the marketplace. People who had once walked past her now stood still, listening. The sight of the president, kneeling before a beggar, had frozen them in place. The woman clutched Ibrahim's sleeve tighter. "I cannot see the sun anymore. I do not even know who you are. All I ask, my son, is for a piece of bread. Something to keep me alive another day. Ibrahim's throat tightened. For a moment he was not the leader of a nation, not the captain of soldiers, he was just a boy again. He saw his mother's hands, rough and cracked from work, placing the last handful of food before him and saying, "Eat, my child. I am not hungry." He had known she was lying. He had known she went to bed hungry, so he could sleep with something in his belly. His vision blurred, but not from the dust. "Mother," Ibrahim said softly, his voice shaking. "You will not beg again. Not while I breathe." The old woman tilted her head, surprised by the weight of his words. "You speak with the voice of a man who means what he says." Around them, silence fell deeper. Soldiers lowered their rifles slightly, moved by the scene. Vendors wiped their eyes. Even the restless children seemed to sense that something greater than politics was unfolding here. Ibrahim took her frail hand in both of his. "You are not forgotten. From this day, you are my mother too." The old woman's lips trembled, and though her eyes were blind, tears still escaped, tracing down her cheeks. Ibrahim remained kneeling, his hands wrapped around the blind woman's trembling fingers. The crowd pressed closer, hushed, their curiosity replaced by reverence. They had seen many leaders pass through these streets in convoys, hidden behind glass, eyes fixed forward. But none had ever stopped, not for her. Not for the forgotten. The woman whispered, "My son, you sound like a man of honor. But promises are easy. Hunger is heavy." Her words struck like an arrow. Ibrahim bowed his head. "You are right. A promise without action is a lie." He rose to his feet, dust clinging to his uniform, his red beret catching the sunlight. Then he turned to his aide-de-camp. "Bring food. Water. Immediately." Within moments, soldiers hurried back with bread, rice, and a flask of cool water. Ibrahim took the food with his own hands and placed it gently before her. "Eat, mother, let your strength return." The woman reached forward cautiously, her fingers brushing the loaf of bread. Her lips quivered. "It has been so long." She took a piece, and as she tasted it, tears fell freely down her cheeks. The marketplace stirred. Some people began to cry, others whispered prayers. It was not the food alone that moved them, it was the sight of their leader kneeling in the dust, feeding a blind beggar with his own hands. But Ibrahim was not finished. He turned back to his officers. "This woman is not just a beggar. She is our mother. She belongs not to the street, but to us. From today, she will have a home, a bed, food, and care. See to it." The soldiers saluted sharply. The woman gasped, dropping the bread from her hand. "A home? For me? No, my son. You are busy. You cannot waste time on an old, useless woman like me." Ibrahim knelt once more, looking into her clouded eyes. "Mother, you are not useless. A nation that abandons its mothers is a nation without a soul. You carried this land before we did. You deserve dignity, not dust." The crowd erupted in applause. Some shouted his name, others wept openly. Strangers stepped forward, dropping food and coins at the woman's feet, ashamed that they had walked past her for so long. But Ibrahim raised his hand for silence. His voice rang out, steady and commanding. "Today, I give her a home. But tomorrow we must ask ourselves, how many others sit in the dust unseen? How many mothers, fathers, and children beg while we look away? If one leader kneels, it is not enough. The whole nation must kneel beside its forgotten." The people stood in awe. For the first time in years, hope rose in the marketplace like a sunrise. The blind woman sobbed into her hands. My son, my son." And for Ibrahim, those words carried more weight than any title, more honor than any crown. The sun was beginning to set over Ouagadougou, painting the sky with orange and crimson. Yet in the marketplace, no one moved. All eyes were fixed on the young leader who had stopped his convoy to kneel before a forgotten woman. Ibrahim gave instructions to his men, but his tone was not that of a commander barking orders, it was that of a son protecting his mother. "Take her to the hospital first," he said. "Let her eyes be examined. If there is hope for her sight, we will find it. Then arrange a home for her, not far from the people, but close enough that she never feels alone again." "Yes, Captain," his aide replied firmly. The old woman shook her head, overwhelmed. "Ibrahim, I cannot repay this. I have nothing." Ibrahim gently touched her shoulder. "Mother, you repay me already by reminding me why I lead. It is not for palaces or power. It is for you, for every forgotten soul who still breathes under this sky." The crowd murmured, some shouting, "Amen," others calling his name. A young boy, barefoot and thin, pushed forward through the soldiers. He tugged at Ibrahim's uniform timidly. "My father, he is sick," the boy whispered. "He cannot work. We have no food." Ibrahim knelt and placed his hands on the boy's shoulders. "Bring me to him tomorrow," he said softly. "We will not let him be abandoned." The boy's eyes widened with hope. He ran back into the crowd, shouting, "The captain will help us too." And then something remarkable happened. From every corner of the marketplace, voices rose, stories of sickness, hunger, widows, orphans. Each voice was a cry for help, a wound long hidden. The soldiers shifted uneasily, but Ibrahim raised his hand. "Let them speak," he said. The cries poured forth like a flood, and Ibrahim listened to each one. He did not rush, he did not dismiss. He listened as though every voice was sacred. When the noise finally settled, he stood tall, dust clinging to his boots. His voice rang out clear. "Today I found a mother sitting in the dust. But she is not the only one. From this day forward, we will not allow our people to beg for bread in the streets of their own land. If we can defend this country from enemies, we can defend our people from hunger. If we can build walls, we can build homes. If we can raise weapons, we can raise each other." The crowd roared, tears mixing with shouts of hope. For the first time, they did not see just a soldier or a president, they saw a man who carried their pain as his own. The blind woman reached for him again, and he took her hand, steady and strong. She whispered, barely audible, "You are my son now. And the son of all who suffer." And Ibrahim, with tears in his eyes, whispered back, "Then I will never let my family starve again." Ibrahim smiled faintly, humbled. "Then every action I take from now on must honor the hearts of those who cannot fight for themselves. True strength is not in armies, nor in victories over enemies, it is in lifting those who have fallen, and carrying the weight of the forgotten." And so, the blind woman's voice, once unheard, became a symbol. Her story spread across the nation, touching hearts and awakening consciences. But for Ibrahim, the lesson was personal. He understood that a nation's greatness is measured not by its walls, its weapons, or its wealth, but by the compassion and courage of its leaders. That day, Ibrahim Traoré did not just save a woman from the street. He ignited a movement of hope, a legacy of empathy, and a living proof that heroism is measured in love, not power. And in the quiet moments, when the sun dipped low behind the rooftops of Ouagadougou, he would remember her soft whisper. "My son. You carry us all." And in his heart, he knew he always would.